The dog is asking to go out. Oh,
No,
I don't have it on mute. People can hear us.
All right. Are you?
And we're here.
All right. Well, we're up and running. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Movies with Mark. My name is Mark McPherson, movie critic for Moviespoon.com and TwinCitiesGeek.com. I am joined by my wife for today. And
I'm a floating attachment.
in the back, it's just off to the side there. And we are going to be talking today about two new movies. One is a big new release this week, Eli Roth's Death Wish. And then we're going to talk about a little comedy called Flower, which is coming out in a few markets here. And then we're also going to be talking about Amazon's TV series, The Tick.
The Tick. It sounded like you said the dick.
Did I slip the words there?
And then we're going to play Doki Doki Literature.
We'll have to play Doki.
Depending on what time it is.
Did that was like a slip of the word there?
The dick. Wishful thinking?
Man.
I was thinking about that shower scene.
With the
loofah.
Which shower scene? Oh! Man, that's a mess of a show, man.
Yeah.
Well, so all right, we'll start off with Death Wish. Now, obviously, this is the remake of the Charles Bronson classic, in which Charles Bronson, well, I don't know if you call it a classic, but it's kind of like a cult film just because it is so weird, which is the film that had Charles Bronson playing this architect called Paul Kersey, I think his name was. And he basically, like his wife and daughter, like his wife was raped and killed, and his daughter was raped, and so he decided,
By the same group of people at the same time.
The same group of people,
Which the main guy was
Jeff Goldblum.
I couldn't think of his name the other day. I'm like, what is his name?
Yes. You think Jeff Goldblum is so pure? Oh no, in his early days, he would rape and kill on screen. So
oh boy.
That's almost kind of worth going back and watching just to see, like, oh man, he's playing like a real cackling villain. Not even like a kind of like a sympathetic or like a villain with personality. No, he is completely unlikable in that film.
The kind you root for to die.
Exactly. So you kind of do root for Charles Bronson to start picking up a gun and going out on the street trying to look for him.
Yeah, yeah.
So
and somehow they made sequels out of that, and now a remake. So was it a good adaptation or a remake or whatever? Was it a soft reboot or was it a full remake?
Oh, it's a full remake. Obviously, because like the last one they went up to like Death Wish 5, and
were people still watching at that point?
Someone was like people who loved action films and gun nuts were, because like they were made by the Cannon Film Group who
Cannon,
did
yeah.
Yeah, everyone.
I'm not really an action fan, but I have seen the original Death Wish. I can't remember what I thought about it though. It was quite a few years ago now.
Well, it was kind of yeah. It's not a very memorable film. It's mostly just some horrible rape and murder goes on screen. People. And yeah, and then Bronson just goes around killing people.
So
and
does Bruce Willis go around killing people?
Well, is Bruce Willis.
Yeah, so yes.
Yeah. Well, they kind of switch it up a bit. Instead of Paul Kersey, like Paul Kersey's played by Bruce Willis now, and instead of being an architect, now he's a surgeon working in Chicago. So he's basically every night he's dealing with people dealing with gun violence, everyone coming in with bullet wounds. So it kind of works better for his character that way, because he's kind of gotten more used to the violence, as opposed to the Paul Kersey in the original, which is like he was kind of an architect and just kind of happened to him. And then he just decided like to take an interest in guns. Here they kind of build up to him wanting to go out and kill people. But the one thing I do like about the film is like they do ramp it down from like, because like you remember the original, it was really unwatchable at times when they got to raping someone.
Do you remember that Simpsons bit?
With what, with Bronson?
Bronson in the Andy Griffith Show. Now I'm going to Emmett's Fix-It Shop to fix Emmett.
Where's Otis the drunk? I shot him. What? Yep. I'm going to Emmett's Fix-It Shop to fix Emmett.
Well, there is that other where they went to Bronson instead of Branson.
Oh yeah. No, you're in Bronson. Hey Ma, how about some cookies?
No dice.
This ain't over. I wish I was dead. Hui. So thankfully, Bruce Willis doesn't try to put it on, because he doesn't try to put on the persona of Bronson, obviously, because he doesn't have the hair or the mustache. So
the hair and the mustache.
But I did like the fact that when we do get to the obligatory moment when his wife has to be murdered and his daughter has to be raped into a coma, it's not
How? I don't want to know.
because they don't focus on it too much because like they
Yeah, that's not something you want to think about too hard.
no, you don't want to think about it. And the thing is, like, they ramp up to it, like, because the opening scenes are like, man, it sucks being in Chicago. Like, there's all this death and violence. Oh, but I can still have a happy life with my family here. Everything's great. Everything's going great for our family. Yes.
So he lives in Chicago proper?
Yeah. Well, he lives kind of like more in like the rich,
Burbs?
kind of more in the burbs and like the rich area, but close enough to Chicago where it could be, targeted.
Yeah, I don't know. I've only been to Chicago once, and it was just more flying into Chicago and driving through.
Yeah, he's close enough for this stuff to happen where it affects him.
Mm-hmm.
So when this happens, like, and I fully expect X, like they build up like, oh, daughter's going to go off to college, and the wife's finishing up her degree, and it's Paul's birthday, and we're gonna go home and cook him a cake in secret, and it's gonna be so sweet. And then naturally,
the same thing that happened in the first Death Wish, or were they just coming? Oh no, wait, they were coming home from the grocery store, and the daughter was engaged to be married.
Yep.
Yes, that's what it was.
Yep. They were in New York too, so there's a lot of
New York. But New York is way safer than Chicago these days.
Nowadays, yeah, that's
New York is actually incredibly safe. It's probably safer than Minneapolis, that's for sure.
Yeah,
Minneapolis can be pretty dangerous.
And that's like the difference of the area,
It's all relative. How dangerous it would be.
Yeah. Well, they kind of shifted to make it work for the era too, and then like I do kind of like how like Paul kind of has like an epiphany about guns when he goes to bring his dead wife home to Texas where she lived because like the parents wanted it there, and he witnesses
open carry.
Yeah, and right after the funeral, he goes back to her dad's farm, and he finds poachers there, and he immediately just gets out of the car, gets the shotgun, and starts shooting at them.
Wow. I'm all for the fight for guns, but the one time I saw someone open carry, it kind of creeped me out.
Oh yeah,
it made me feel nervous.
And I'll just get this right out of the way. If like the open carry and like the NRA kind of freak you out, you're probably not gonna like this movie. Because this movie loves guns. When he goes into like
well, there's a lot of guns in Chicago.
True.
People die there. Like, what is the count? It's like several people every day. Like, too many people die there.
Yeah.
Maybe this movie will bring attention to that. I didn't know. I didn't watch it, so.
Not
I think
quite
actually,
in the way that you.
People are probably pretty aware. I think actually most of that violence is gang violence, isn't it? Gang retaliation. It's a wonder that they have any members left.
Yeah, and again, like I'll say this too, like if you're expecting more commentary on that, you won't get it here. They'll dance around it. Because here's the weird thing, they're trying to like focus it so it makes sense in this setting. Because if you just remade Death Wish, it's like, oh, there's all this gang violence in New York. It'd be a little bit hard to believe. Chicago,
well, because there isn't that much gang violence in New York anymore.
Yeah,
but in New York in the 70s there was.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I worked in '74. It made an impact. And that's why it works in Chicago. At least like it's believable. There'd be that much gun violence and all this crazy crap going along. But like I said, like it really loves its guns because like when Paul first decides like maybe I'll go buy a gun, he sees this ad for a gun store that makes it look like the most happiest, cheeriest place ever, and he comes in there and there's this nice big bouncy blonde with big boobs and say like, yeah, we can get you a little sheet, we'll get you signed up for a gun really quick. It's like, ooh, wow, we're going that route, huh?
Is this the gun nut fantasy? Because
don't they
have to go through a whole lot of background checks these days?
Oh yeah, and they make no qualms about the fact that you can breeze through most of these safety courses. In fact, they kind of laugh at it most of the time in this film.
Well, because I was under the impression that most of the guns floating around Chicago were illegally obtained. So
yeah, well, actually, that's kind of how he acquires his first gun anyway.
Oh, okay.
Because like he kind of goes in there and says like, oh, you only have to go through so much to get a gun, and I thought, okay, well, he's going to go through with it, because that's kind of what happened with Bronson, is that he kind of went through gun training, but he kind of decides like, nah, that little waiting period, that's too much. I don't know if I want to do it.
Do you remember in was it Mad Dogs, where the lady was going through the gun training with a Derringer or something, and then it was all a trick to I don't know, attack women or something like that.
Oh, and Mad Bull 34.
Mad Bull, that's the one.
Yeah.
I know Mad was in there.
That's pretty
close. It's been a long time since I've watched that episode too. You forget little things like titles.
Oh, I don't forget Mad Bull 34 because I'd have the pube grenades. You don't forget sight like pube grenades.
Gross.
But yeah, like I was saying, like it dances around this aspect about, you know, how horrible it is that there's violence in Chicago. But then more towards it kind of seesaws between these two aspects. Like on one level, it is trying to be very dramatic and gritty with the fact that, you know, that Willis's character has lost his daughter, lost his wife, and he's might lose his daughter, and he's freaking out about it, and like the whole world seems to be against him. But then when he actually gets into the violence, when he actually literally goes out looking to shoot someone, then it kind of turns into campy, crazy canon action territory. And
Canon.
and the thing is, like the weird, crazy stuff, you'd think that might be in poor taste, but that actually kind of works.
What did you do to the microphone
What are
thing?
you looking at?
There's like
Is there something on it?
Something on it.
Okay.
I'll show you later. What the hell is that?
The microphone.
What have you been doing?
I mean, I sneezed.
Oh, and I touched it.
What did you? What the hell?
Well, it looks like you splooged on
Yeah. Well, this is going well.
Hi, kitty.
You grabbing the cat?
Well, she's just walking around and stuff. Why not?
Yeah, just being a cat. Just being a cat. So, yeah, when it gets into like crazy action territory, when it's trying to actually be kind of like the campy canon film. Yes? I guess the cat doesn't like Death Wish either. No? What do you think? Cat, do you like Bruce Willis? No? No. Okay. All right. She's more of a Schwarzenegger girl. All right. But yeah, like when it tries to be violent, it is kind of fun. Like it does seem in poor taste when you have it contrasting. But if you can kind of overlook some of those aspects, it's kind of fun at points. Because like the audience I saw it with was yucking it up during these scenes.
Yuck, yuck, yuck.
They were laughing like, oh yeah, Bruce Willis killed them pretty good, but
Killed them good.
He killed
God,
them
that's
good.
Terrible.
He got them good. But I do want to stress this point though. If you love action films though, this needs to be said. This is a film directed by Eli Roth.
Yeah.
If you don't know who Eli Roth is, you might want to take a look at his filmography.
You know, I think Eli Roth is the guy, but there was something I was listening to about people who have like some kind of reaction to being like he doesn't have any empathy, or something like that, or when he sees violence, it makes him nauseous or something like that. I don't know. It was something weird like that. Whereas I don't know. It was totally him though. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have brought that up.
Well, it's
because I can't remember the article or anything. It wasn't an article; it was a video.
Because I mean, like, it's weird. Because yeah, like if you don't know Eli Roth, he's done movies like Cabin Fever, in which a group of college kids go into the woods and lose their skin. He's done Hostel, in which a bunch of backpackers get kidnapped and tortured to death.
He's the Bear Jew.
He's the Bear Jew. He's done The Green Inferno, where cannibals eat people who come to the jungle. And I gotta mention this though. When we went to the press screening, they usually do these with a few press screenings. They'll have like a little introduction for just the preview audience, for like either like the director or the cast members will come out and say something. They had Eli Roth address the audience, and he said, you know, it's like yeah, that you're about to see Death Wish for the first time, and I'm really excited that you guys are going to see it. If you like the film, go out on social media and say you love it. But if you hated the film, don't talk about it till Saturday. Just give me Friday. Just give me Friday, guys. Just really give me Friday. It's like, oh man, I like Eli Roth. And no, wait, I forgot. He mentioned like, yeah, like save it till Saturday, or otherwise I'm gonna go bear Jew on your ass. It actually says this in there.
He did?
Yeah, he said that in a little preview. It was pretty funny. I had a laugh at that. So yeah, like, needless to say, it's very gory, and he doesn't skimp on the gore at all. What'd you find the article?
I think the thing about Eli Roth was that he was drawn to violence or something like that, or
I would hope so, because
obsessed with violence or something like that.
He dwells a lot on it. So.
But then there's this whole thing about him saying no to violence and stuff with PETA, and so I'm like, what the?
So he's kind of out there. Kind of does a little bit of everything there.
What are you talking about?
But it's so odd because, like, I'm conflicted because I'm kind of middle of the road in this film, because when it is trying to go nuts with the blood and the gore and the gunfights, it is a lot of fun. It goes into some really gruesome gore. There's one scene where he starts slowly slitting open someone's legs. There's another one where brains come out of people's heads. He goes all out.
I'm not watching it.
So just to warn you, if you think it's just going to be like, gunshot and some blood splatter, nah, he does a little bit more than that. And yeah, it does become kind of goofy, enjoyable like those Cannon films, but what worries me is the fact that it keeps going around these other subjects about, how it's kind of dangerous with vigilantism. Like at one point they address the fact that, because for some reason he's never discovered, even though everyone records him, because he's got like a hoodie on at all times. No one really sees his face. Mm-hmm. And so like then the other people decide like, oh, well, I'm going to copy him. I'm going to get a hoodie and I'm going to go out and I'm going to start shooting people. And it does happen. One person goes out and does it and they get shot and killed. And it's mentioned once and then never brought up again. Like it's literally on the news and Bruce Willis's character just turns it off. It's like, oh, no, we don't want to focus on that. And it's like, yeah, it kind of places it more in the real world, but you kind of don't. If it's going to be like this cartoonish, I'd rather they not address this stuff at all. Just keep it weird and warm, because they do have that kind of bizarre ending where because of Paul's actions, like all the crime is solved. It's like literally when that happens, when he finally kills the last guy who killed his wife, it just kind of ends and everyone in Chicago is just kind of okay with the fact that he left. So I guess he saved the day. I don't know, because like they never established like that these bad guys are anything more than just random goons. Like they're not really working for any particular mafia, or at least none that were mentioned specifically. They just seem like a lot like the first Death Wish, just kind of like random bad guys.
Just like, well, I kind of thought they were more like teenager bad guys too, or like early 20 assholes or something like that.
More like
in the first one.
I would kind of say more like late 20s, maybe early 30s type guy. Like fair.
Okay. I'm giving what's his face too much. Being too flattering then.
Yeah. There's some decent performances in here from supporting players. Like Vincent D'Onofrio is in here as kind of Paul's kind of like slowish younger brother who's he's not particularly dumb, but he's just like he's not as on the up and up. You have Dean Norris here playing a detective, which is kind of easygoing for him. I mean, most people know Dean Norris as the cop from Breaking Bad. So he's in his element here. He's doing a fine job. But Bruce Willis, man, Bruce Willis, he can work well in action scenes and when he's trying to be like snarky, because that's that's kind of Willis's action character. That's how he usually is. But it doesn't really work when they're trying to go through these emotional moments where he's supposed to like feel depressed and just feel like he can't connect with the world, and that and trying to feel something for his wife when she dies. A lot of those scenes, they really fall flat, and they just show how Willis can't really embody much of this character. And it's one of those things that they dance around when they really don't have to do this stuff. They could just make it the complete campy action film, because by the third act, it's gone completely nuts. Like it's done away with all like the the moody, emotional, and depressive stuff. It's just having fun at that point. Boy. Which, I mean...
With violence, apparently.
With violence, but, I mean, it works better than the drama here. Because, like, the drama is just kind of like, it's in bits and pieces. It doesn't quite work. Bruce Willis, I'm sorry, but he cannot act in these scenes where he's supposed to feel depressed. He really can't. It's like, yeah, he can be the big snarky action bad guy, the snarky action hero, but not much more than that, you know. One other thing I thought was weird though is like they pay a lot of tribute to like to not only like the gun shop, like he watches like an advertisement on his computer. Later on, he watches gun training videos from YouTube or some other website, and then he's watching more videos about that. And I think they might have plugged a few people's websites, maybe. Not that I think about it. But the one thing I wanted to mention was that every time it's a new day, when it transitions to a new day in Chicago, we hear news reports from certain personalities around there, and they keep playing them day after day after day to the point where you can recognize Mancow in the morning. Like
Mancow?
Yeah, they one of the Chicago personalities they have, there's Mancow, and like every time like they transition to another day, you get to hear his commentary on what's going on, to the point where they actually have him state the station ID by the end.
I found that thing that I was talking about with Eli Roth. It had something to do with being a part-time psychopath, and there is a conversation. There's a clip of a conversation of Eli Roth talking about a brain scan he had from Curiosity. Curiosity's capitalized. He has a part-time psychopath diagnosis or something like that. Yeah, I don't know. I guess he has dark fantasies and things like that. I'm not sure.
Well, maybe that's why he's making these films.
But these people in this thread are arguing, I guess, whether that's a thing, but they're saying maybe it's more like you're desensitized to violence, you lack empathy or something like that. So, I don't know.
And he really loves violence.
Well, there's something on NPR about it too.
Oh, okay.
So,
yeah,
take that as you will. But they're talking about Eli Roth being a psychopath or something.
So yeah, I mean, as commentary doesn't really work, but as a remake for Death Wish, it does hold up. It does pay a few homages to it. Like they do end it the same way, where he holds his finger up like a gun. Yep. And actually, I was surprised by this. Like it's fairly subtle, but the final climax of the film it practically mimics the last scene in Death Wish 3.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing, though?
It kind of is a good thing, because if they're going for craziness, because like play the
well, and also you're kind of giving away the ending of the movie.
Well, not entirely. I haven't said specifically. It's just kind of similar. It's not the exact scene, but switch it to the Death Wish 3 source on there.
What? Oh, I see it now.
Yeah, you see it there? Yep. It's very similar to that scene. Where it is, because by that point, like, Death Wish 3 is the most goofy of the Death Wish films. And I like the fact that it kind of pays tribute to that, because it kind of knows that, like, look, this is campy, it's dorky, it's, like, you gotta laugh at the violence here. It feels like it's trying to put in a message, but doesn't quite hit. So I'm kind of middle of the road. I mean, I like kind of like the action and the violence, and it kind of gets into its own groove a little bit towards the end. But when it tries to mix in this drama, it doesn't work. It doesn't work for Willis. It doesn't work for the direction. It doesn't work for commentary, because it starts up all these conversations and then just shuts them down immediately without talking about them again. So yeah, I mean, as mindless entertainment, Death Wish is fine. It's fun. But
I wonder if Bruce Willis was as difficult making Death Wish with Eli Roth as he was with Kevin Smith making that cop movie he was in.
That I would be very curious about.
More interested in that than the actual movie.
So yeah, I'm very middle of the road. I'm about like 2.5 stars. It's just because like the melding here, the seesawing of like the two tones doesn't work, even though one tone works a lot better than the other.
Okay, well, let's move on to Flower then.
All right.
I've not even heard of this one. You just mentioned it to me like
Flower.
Today, so.
Well, we bring up. I like to bring up little independent films here. So we got a little film called Flower. It's directed and co-written by Max Winkler. This is, as far as I know, it's his directorial debut. He's written on a lot of television.
So is he related to Henry? Winkler?
I don't
The
think
Fonz?
so.
Hey.
Hey, make a little comedy. Yeah, he's written on just like a few little comedy TV series, like The New Girl.
You sure like to say little, but the new girl is not little.
Well, I should clarify. I mean, he kind of more like he has like little writing roles. Like he's written like a handful of episodes on these
Small
shows.
writing roles. Got
Small
it.
writing roles, yeah. And with Flower, this is kind of like a coming of age dramedy. And it kind of like immediately goes for like the Juno tone because the main
So they're saying quips the whole way through?
quite a few. It's about this teenager called Erica, played by Zoe Deutch, I think her name is Zoe Deutch, Deutch. Probably is Deutsch,
Maybe.
Zoe Deutsch, maybe German. And she's like, they established right from the beginning. She's kind of a slut. In the very first scene, she's
Quit slut shaming. Oh, check your. Sorry, I'll stop.
well in the
I'm
very
just joking around.
in the very first scene, she is she's having sex with a cop just so that she can blackmail the cop and get more money. And she's just kind of like hoarding this money up, but she's doing it because she wants to get her dad out of prison. So she's doing all this kind of smutty stuff. Oh, but she's got a heart of gold. So it's gonna be that type of story.
How's
more
that
or
going
less.
to get her dad out of prison?
Um,
Or maybe you can't say.
I can't. I'll leave it up towards the end. Like there's a bigger ending with that. But essentially, while she's working towards that goal, she's trying to deal with the fact that her mom is seeing someone new, and it doesn't help that her new dad is called Bob, and he's played by Tim Heidecker. And
Oh.
yeah.
Why?
To make him seem kind of like awkward and not quite the dad she wants, because like he's trying to like take charge
Is he going to turn her room back into a computer room?
back into the computer room. All those Tim and Eric sketches coming back.
Maybe he'll tell her about how he sits down when he pees. Or
Maybe he'll
his
stress
bloody
that.
nips.
Actually, one thing that's true to his character is that he has a son that he brings with, and the son is he's overweight, he's awkward, he's on a diet, and
So he brought Eric with him then.
I think he might have actually lost weight. I think it went the other way. I think Tim gained more weight.
Wait, which one was Tim and which one was Eric?
Eric Wareheim is the guy from from Master of
And which one's
Master of None.
blonde and which one's dark haired? That'd be the easier one.
I think Tim Heidecker's the blonde one.
The short one?
Yeah, kind of the short one.
Okay.
Eric Wareheim's the guy with the beard. So you've seen him on like Master of None.
Oh,
And,
yeah,
yeah.
the tall one.
Yeah,
Okay.
kind of like the new Brian Posman, as it were.
I don't know who Brian Postman is.
He's kind of the guy with the thick beard who used to be on the Sarah Silverman show, and he spoke like this all the time.
Oh, he was on news radio a couple times.
Yeah.
He always seems to play a crazy person.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't watch Sarah Silverman's show because I don't find her funny at all.
Yeah.
She's gotten significantly less funny with age.
Well, I just mentioned that just because that's the one he's had like the most prominent role on. He's been like supporting roles forever, but
Yeah, the guy who looks like a Brian.
yeah.
I think that's a character he played.
I think so, yeah. So like Erica is trying to deal with both Bob and his weird overweight son, who apparently the son has said like I don't feel right here because the teacher at the school, I'm pretty sure he molested me when I was a kid.
What?
And she's like, what? That's not right. What should we do? And it's like, well, I know. Why don't we stalk him and try to see if we can find some information or anything? And from there, it just kind of spins its wheels into this weird thing where the kids end up breaking the law. Some really nasty stuff happens toward the end, but they try to wrap it up all nice and neatly in a kind of little heartwarming package, which doesn't quite work just because these characters, they kind of make them a little bit unlikable. I mean, Erica's she's like kind of like a Juno character where she's snarky, she's fast on her feet, but she's not quite all there. Like she's gonna make some big mistakes, and sometimes willingly make big mistakes, to the point where where you kind of don't feel for her when like the real bad shit goes down. So it's kind of hard to root for her in this, especially the kid here, played by first timer Joey Morgan. He's okay. I mean, like the acting all around is pretty solid. Everyone here kind of fits into their role, but the son, he's kind of like a little bit manipulative, kind of like Erica a little bit, where like he tries to deceive people, but he's a little bit more secretive about it. So they're kind of sort of made for each other. So you kind of get a little bit of weird vibes between the two of them, especially towards the end there when they kind of err on the creepy side. But I will say, like, for as downhill as this film starts to go, by the end, by the climax, it really tries to pull itself up. And it pulls up hard to make these characters likable. And it doesn't quite get there, but it's high enough where I'm kind of like, okay, this didn't end like a complete train wreck. I mean, like, enough got resolved by the end where, the characters will learn, they'll grow, and you might like them a little bit more if you get to know them a little bit. But as it plays out in this, and because usually like I do kind of dig like these coming of age stories, stuff like Lady Bird and like Juno is actually pretty good. But this one kind of goes a little bit deeper, like almost kind of like into like white trash territory of someone trying to come to terms with themselves when they're going into adulthood. So it's kind of odd, like she does all this really seedy and nasty stuff. But she tries to rationalize it all by the end, saying like, "Oh, I'm still learning. I'm just a dumb teenager." So it all depends how much you can sympathize with teenagers on this.
I don't know. I'm a mom now, so a lot of times I find teenagers annoying. So
yeah, and I'll say that right off the bat. If you're a parent, you are gonna be pissed off at this kid.
It's like when I keep seeing that commercial for that one where they're trying to kill their stepdad or something. I'm like, what a bunch of brats.
Yeah, it's not exactly a feel-good movie. Mainly because, not to give too much away, but it does involve some murder at some point.
Yeah,
so,
I got that feeling. Well, let's move on to something more lighthearted.
Yeah.
Although kind of still pretty messed up.
Well, now
it's season 2.
Well, it's weird because actually this is kind of like a nice medium between the campy goriness of Death Wish and the weird comedy of Flower.
Yeah.
Now we've got the Tick.
No, full disclosure, we've only watched like a couple of episodes of the newest season.
Yeah.
We will watch the rest eventually, but we've been busy playing Doki Doki, which we're going to do some more of that tonight.
Yeah.
Too, hopefully, Doki Doki Literature Club. Probably just 1 hour of that.
Yeah, we're about halfway through the second half of the first season, I think this is.
Is it the first season, or are we into the second season?
No, this is, I believe this is the second half of the first season.
Oh.
Because...
okay, yeah.
Because it's pretty
quick.
They
left us on a cliffhanger before, though. That was really irritating.
Yeah, but they
so
knew.
So it makes me feel like I'm in the second season. I probably wrote second season somewhere.
Yeah, it's not the second, like, mainly because they knew.
The second half, whatever.
Well, because they knew. They wouldn't intentionally do cliffhanger like that unless they wanted to, like, say, like, hey, come back next time, because we actually are coming back next time.
They had that guy who plays Rorschach playing the main villain, and he looks like he's all burn victim up with gold teeth.
Yeah.
And he plays the drums like he's in, what's that movie?
Whiplash. They do a Whiplash reference here. And I gotta tell you, the second half so far, from what I've seen, I'm not digging on it as much as the first half.
It's okay. It was really cringy, the whole thing with the boat and Arthur, though.
Well,
was like,
that can be...
Why?
It could be funny,
yeah.
But I get the feeling like this last half is going to try to wrap up so many of these plot arcs going on.
It's like it raped him in the shower, though.
Yeah.
That makes me uncomfortable.
Well, it's kind of funny for like an episode or two, but you kind of wonder, like, okay, where are they going with this whole relationship of the computer speedboat and Arthur? Like, where is this going?
It might go so sorry for Arthur. He just can't catch a break.
It might go somewhere funny. Because that's actually
Yeah,
what I
it could
loved.
be building up.
That's what I loved so much about like the first season. It was very like it felt like it had a very consistent flow with its kind of seemingly randomness of the superheroes. Like, because like out of nowhere there would be a giant.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere there'd be a talking dog.
But they're explaining that stuff now.
And that's kind of like the problem I have, because like when they first
You
showed,
don't like the explanations then.
not so much,
they're
just because it
explaining.
kind of slows down most of
Yeah.
the story.
I can see where you're coming from there.
Because like the talking dog, it was just kind of briefly mentioned in.
It was better as a one-off. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and it, well, like I don't mind the fact if they want to come back to the talking dog, but then they go into like this deeper history and lore of it.
But it
Which
is kind of funny when the Tick's reading the dog's book, though.
It is funny.
Because he's really getting into it.
Yeah, that being said, there is some funny stuff they find to do with the Tick. I mean, the Tick is, he's always funny to watch, no matter what type of story he's in here.
It's a funny character.
Yeah, and to be fair, they do give Arthur more to do than just kind of be mystified by this world. Like, now he's kind of actually in it and trying to decipher, like, all its history and everything. Even though he was kind of doing that before, but now he's kind of, like, more knowledgeable about it.
Yeah, and making an ass out of himself, too.
And making
In front of the terror.
Well, he's terrified of the terror. Because he killed his dad.
Yeah. And then took his ice cream.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what I love so much about.
Scene.
That's what I love so much about the first half, is it kind of felt like Venture Brothers.
Yeah, it did.
In the fact that we would establish all these different characters and then focus on them just enough so that we could have a funny scene around that.
Yeah.
Because like that was always the funniest thing about Venture Brothers, was that they would always kind of show you like the behind the scenes. They show you the stuff that you wouldn't normally see in action in like a superhero show.
Yeah.
Where like
When's the next season of Venture Brothers coming out?
3 years. Just to guess. Takes forever, but I will say that though, if you're kind of having like the Venture Brother blues and waiting for more episodes, this is really close to it, especially since one of the guys who worked on Venture Brothers originally worked on the Tick animated series. So it's very much in the same league.
Someone who voiced on Venture Brothers played the Tick in the 90s series.
That too.
Patrick Warburton.
That's very true. Yeah. So this is the third Tick TV series.
Yeah,
it's so odd to think about that, isn't it?
It's good property, I guess. But I'm still waiting for Batman Will to show up.
Well, it's such a fun property to explore because there's so much openness to it to explore. There's especially since like the Tick is such an enigma. Like they've never revealed like what he looks like under the suit, where he came
Origins,
from,
yeah.
how he got the suit.
It seems like he's trying to figure it out in this one, though.
Yeah.
Like, he seems interested in his own origins in this one.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, but I'm not sure if they should
go
into that. So.
Well, yeah, especially because more or less it's kind of going to lead to a dead end. Although, it does give him some funny stuff to do. Like, at one point he thinks he's a robot.
Yeah.
Because he sees another person who looks like a robot. Thinks, maybe I'm a robot. So.
Well, he's making comparisons, but they don't actually look alike.
Yeah.
And then Arthur's like, you're not a robot, Tick.
You're not a robot. I mean, there's some more goofy stuff in this season I kind of like the robot's kind of funny, how it kind of speaks in like dial-up. There's a scientist who keeps shifting his size all the time.
Yeah, that was great.
There's kind of some funny stuff with that.
There's some bits around that were pretty funny.
Yeah.
You don't want to give too much away with that, though.
No,
it won't be as funny.
Well, there's just elements. I mean, there's the story here is fairly detailed, where there's a lot to delve into. But yeah, more than anything, I really dig the world here, especially since this Tick series has a lot more, because it's an Amazon show. It has a lot more room to expand and to like go into different territories. Like, I like the fact that they have this Punisher character who actually goes around cussing. Overkill. Who goes around speaking in like kind of like the distorted voice and killing people brutally left and right and cussing up a storm, and he just clashes so well with the Tick.
Because the Tick is totally against all the things that Overkill does. So
yeah, he's completely the opposite. So watching him just kind of like bicker with him in between scenes, like, no, we don't kill people. or watch your mouth, stuff like that. It's kind of funny to watch that. Yeah, there's a lot of fun stuff here. Like obviously, you know, it's great watching Jackie Earle Haley as the Terror.
Yeah,
Even though
pretty funny.
even though he's mostly kind of trying to do that wailing voice like this.
He sounds like Voldemort, or like he's about to die or something.
Yeah.
But I think it's supposed to be from like smoke inhalation or something.
Yeah, he kept some of that makeup from Nightmare on Elm Street. Kept a little bit of it, just a little bit.
Maybe that's just what Jackie Haley's face looks like these days. I don't know.
Oh no.
Maybe he went for too much realism with Freddy Krueger. You know.
I don't know, man. He's
got stuck that way.
He's like Doug Jones. He's got that mask. He's always got like a mask on. Like he had a mask with Rorschach, and then with Freddy Krueger, he's got stuff on. And the Terror, he's got stuff on.
What else has he been in? I don't know.
He's been in like one or two other things, and I'm trying to remember. But yeah, I get the feeling he's gonna be like the next Doug Jones. He's just gonna be constantly in makeup. You know. But that works for him, you know, because the Terror is kind of a fun character. I don't know how much more they can do with him. Like, it kind of seemed like they were struggling with fun stuff for him to do. Where his character...
We'll find out.
Well, we'll find out. But, like, at least from what it seemed like. Because, like, the whole Whiplash bit seems like it came out of nowhere.
Yeah,
like,
but it was funny.
It's kind of a funny bit, but just kind of like, okay, it just kind of feels like they're just kind of doing, like, a little bit of Whiplash.
It was a little
here.
weird, though.
I mean, it's a neat framing device.
Yeah.
I'm just not sure how it kind of fits into his character, because his character kind of seems a little bit all over the place. Because after that, they're asking like, "Oh, should we go after the scientist that escapes?" Like, "Oh, fuck him." It's like, okay, it's kind of funny, but I'm not quite seeing his full character here. Maybe it'll have a better payoff towards the end.
Yeah, we'll find out.
So I'm hopeful with that, because there's a lot of stuff that kind of seems like it's building up in this first half of the season where it doesn't feel as strong as the last. When it first began. So
let's get over to the Doki Doki now.
There you go.
And I don't know what you need to do to set that up.
All right, but before we do that, I just want to, because Death Wish I didn't really dig and Flower I didn't really dig, I did want to give some recommendations really quick.
Okay.
Okay. So naturally, if you want more straight kind of like Death Wish stuff, obviously you can watch the original Death Wish. You can watch Death Wish 3 from that amazing GIF we just showed. Or, Death Wish isn't in here.
Death Wish 3 GIF. Woo!
Death Wish 3. I could watch that over and over, man. Especially that film too. Like it's amazing watching that whole town explode with violence.
You know which clip I could watch over and over again?
Which one?
Do you like jazz?
B-movie.
Don't like jazz.
That movie's pretty violent too, man.
You know that cut of the two of those where it's like, do you like jazz? Don't like jazz. I don't like the jazz.
Don't like the jazz? Oh, from the spaghetti thing. Yeah. So obviously another great recommendation I would say is the Canon Films collection here. This is an amazing collection. It's got
Chuck Norris front and center.
Yeah, you got your Chuck Norris, you got Stallone, you got Van Damme. I don't think there's any Bronson in here. There might be one. Well, no.
I noticed you said the name of everyone on the cover except Dolph Lundgren.
Well, Dolph Lundgren, he's only in one film, man. I can't.
Masters of the Universe.
He's only Masters of the Universe. I can't dog on him too much.
He-Man.
That's like
that was like the worst movie they could have made out of He-Man because it made absolutely no sense.
But it's a He-Man movie of the 80s.
Why was Courtney Cox in that on Earth in that big ass nightgown?
Oh, because a lot of those fantasy films did that. You had
stupid.
Hercules in New York, and I think Beastmaster 2 did the same thing. They always had like, oh, we can't afford the fantasy setting, so off to modern day 1980s you go.
It was so stupid.
But I would definitely check out this one. It doesn't have Bronson, but does have a lot of the Bronson-style action films, and mostly because it's got the documentary Electric Boogaloo, which is all about...
We watched that together, right?
Yeah.
We did,
which is all about Canon Films, including the Death Wish films, which tell a lot of creepy stories about the production of those films.
Isn't there like some film where like they just had to show boobs and everything, and... That was the Canon one, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, they mentioned how in
girl shirts for no apparent reason.
Oh yeah, they mentioned how in like Death Wish, I think it was like 2 or 3, there was a scene where a woman had to be raped outside on the ground, and the director wanted her uncovered at all times.
Ugh.
Just like, ooh, that's
I think
bizarre
the worst
and
film
nasty.
to be in if you're a woman is a canon film, right?
yeah. If you're a woman in a canon film, you're pretty much just gonna get your boobs out, or you're gonna get killed.
Or both.
Like I think they have, I think they got Invasion USA in here. If I remember correctly, in that there's a scene where a woman is snorting coke, and some gangster come in and smashes her face down while she's snorting it.
That's really messed
It's
up.
really brutal.
I think they have like a problem with women then.
I guess so, man.
It's like that one. Because, like, in the original Death Wish, what happens to his wife and daughter is pretty graphic.
Oh yeah,
And they show it.
yeah, it's damn near uncomfortable to watch.
Yeah.
It's like, well, okay,
It's bad. Which, actually, you could argue that it's better to show the gore of things, too, though, because when you remove the gore, you remove the consequence of the violence.
true.
So you remove the disgust that's attached to it.
Yeah, and you can use rape in a film if there's a point to it.
Yes.
Like it makes sense kind of in like A Clockwork Orange, because it's trying to show like how despicable this person is and try to get inside their mind. But in Death Wish, you're just kind of just watching it just so so these cartoonish villains can have like a reason for Charles Bronson to blow their brains out. So it's kind of more like base entertainment on that level.
Yeah.
And it's completely sleazy. Like, they frame it so you can see all the boob and, all the clothes ripping off.
If you want to feed your reptilian brain, watch canon films.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah, if you want to watch campy trash, man, you can't beat canon films. And then just really quick, for another coming-of-age film, obviously I mentioned Lady Bird. It is playing out there right now for the big Oscar push, so I would totally recommend that if you want a great coming-of-age film. But another I was trying to find a coming-of-age film that has kind of characters who go through really warped situation. And the first one that kind of came to my mind was Rushmore.
Oh, yeah.
Because Rushmore is kind of weird, because he's in
It's a male lead coming-of-age story.
Yeah, well, it's male lead, yeah, but it's a teenager.
It's been a long time since I've watched that.
It's weird because he's in a love triangle competing for the love of this adult teacher with Bill Murray.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, isn't it?
Well, that in itself is weird, and also just all the crazy shit he does around the school of Rushmore to get kicked out of it, and then just the plays he holds, which are like they're not like Shakespearean plays. Like he's doing like Platoon on stage.
That was a weird movie.
So it's very bizarre. I'll say that. All right, well, thank you for anyone who might be tuning in here. We're going to turn off the stream right now, and we're going to switch it over to Doki Doki Literature Club.
It'll take probably a couple minutes.
Just a few minutes, yeah. So be sure to tune back in next time, where I'll be reviewing A Wrinkle in Time.
Yep.
So
give us a couple minutes, and we'll be switching over to Doki Doki Literature Club.
See you in a few.